tray, it's easy. I can just get some off of here instead of dipping it in there if I need just a little bit. That's the real advantage to the tray. And I got these cabinets with the first coat. And you got to be careful for runs. I found a couple and I had to get them out. But sometimes latex paint will run like 10 or 15 minutes later. Looks questionable there, but I think we're good. It's the next day, and we're putting a second coat on. You can kind of see through the first coat, which I knew you would. These little ones, I just lay the blocks this way, long ways on them. And I generally brush the whole inner side because you really can't get the roller to fit in there very well. So I just... Notice I'm using different parts of the roller. If I use the same, you're going to get a buildup of paint on the edge and it's going to drip down the edge. So I'm constantly, maybe near the edge, near the middle. And if I need a little bit more paint, I can just barely hit the paint in the pan, just barely. And while I got the brush and roller wet, I'm going to go ahead and put a second coat on the inside. It's amazing when you go back to do the second coat how you always find spots that you missed. And you go, how could I miss that? I'm doing these little edges by the drawers because I think you'll be able to see it a little bit when the drawer is open. Second coat really makes a difference. The first coat probably looks okay to most people. If you look close, you see a few holidays. Holidays are actually what they call misses. Like a little spot or something that doesn't have the full coat on. You can kind of see through it. The second coat goes much faster than the first coat, so it's definitely makes the job look a lot better. It seems like cabinets work goes pretty fast, but it's just amazing how many hours it actually takes. Everybody just thinks, because it looks like, wow, I just did this in about 30 seconds. It seemed like maybe a minute. But there's a lot of stuff you don't think about, all the sanding, the prep work, bringing the drops out here, arriving on the job site. I mean, just that alone is depending on how far you have to go. Getting your tools out, cleaning them up, putting them away. You gotta be careful you don't, scratch them too much and stuff like that when you're putting them on. So you want the paint to be good and dry. Now, again, it's good to check the edges because you don't want to leave a big blob on the other side. Even though I'm not going to paint it for a little while, you don't want the blob to be drying because if it dries past a certain point, it doesn't come off. Some of these doors have little tiny, I don't know whether it's bugs landed on it or it's something that picked up off the roller. Just little tiny pieces. So I'm hitting them with a piece of sandpaper, old piece of DA 120 on the sanding thing, and just kind of giving it a quickie to kind of knock some of these off. They're pretty small, and they probably wouldn't really be noticed, but I noticed them, so I'm getting them off. I could have just wiped them with the rag, and that's what I did on the first couple, but because of this little lip here, it's kind of a pain, so I decided just to break out the vacuum, which is way easier, more effective, and quicker. Quicker is the operative word, because when you're working for somebody, the goal is to get done as fast as possible. And then on my second coat of white on the back side of all the doors, I'm pretty close to done. I got maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6 of these left. And I'm gonna let them dry good, a day or maybe 2 days before flipping them over to do the other side. Trick is to grab it far enough underneath so you're not touching the edge. On the other hand, slide underneath it and just pick it up. Like so. Pretty easy. Before I put the last coat on this, I'm checking a couple of these spots, and this corner here looks a little bit rough. It needs another coat of caulk. And caulk does shrink quite a bit. So even though you caulk it up, sometimes it's got to give it another coat. Now I don't want to paint this for at least an hour right here, because the caulk is going to be soft, and if it's soft, it's going to probably dig out with the brush.
For a year with dinosaurs, wizards, and superheroes. All the awesome is right here, carefully prepped and ready to let that good time.
Now I'm spraying the last coat with one of these Wagnus fan-powered sprayers. It's a fan built in the back. Basically blows out hot air, and just doing the best you can with it. Pretty fast, but it's a little bit orange peely, but most of that will shrink as it dries. Now I do normally wear a mask, but because I'm talking to the camera, I have it off. But I set them on a couple of cans, and then I have that same wood that's there. What you want to make sure you do is you want to dry your forehead off, because you don't want to drip on it, and it's really easy to do. And also you take a rag and wipe the edge just a little bit, because you don't want it to drip either. Again, I don't know if you can see that, but it's a little bit orange peely, but most of that will shrink up. When you go to spray the paint, make sure you filter it. It might be the same paint you used when you were rolling, and a lot of times you get a little crusty and a lot of stuff ends up in the paint. So you need to make sure you strain it, otherwise it clogs your gun up and then you'll have a nightmare trying to do the job. Another thing I did is I kept the stuff down low. I sprayed down low, and I protected every area of the garage I could so there's no mist, because there's an overspray, kind of like a cloud, and when that goes to settle, it's going to settle on everything. So if you don't cover everything, you're going to have a place where you pull the drop up, you're going to see a mess. Also, I changed the cardboard pretty regularly. I just kept throwing new pieces on it, so when I stepped on it, it doesn't, I don't get all over my shoe and walk it all over the place. So have some cardboard ready, or paper, or anything you can put down. You don't have to pick up the old, just lay it down right in it, so you don't have to step in it and get it all over the place. The other option I think that probably good to know is I'm going to go ahead and probably put an extra coat on these, because the spraying is a little bit thicker and it's kind of got like a heavier orange peel, and so they don't look drastically different. And I don't want to spray them because you have to spray the drawers. I'd have to completely wrap up everything or else pull the faces off, which I'm not going to do. And it's a lot of work, and I think it looks pretty much similar with the roller as it does with the spray. Just the spray is a little heavier orange peel, so I'm going to give it another quick coat just so it has a little more texture on it, because the roller does leave a little bit of a texture. And also to make sure that I've covered it good, because once I start putting the handles and stuff on, I don't want to go back touching them. This is a Friday, so I won't be back till Monday, so everything have a good chance to dry. So Monday I can go in and start installing the drawers and everything back and putting hardware on them. So that's my little bit of advice. Anyway, if you like the videos, please subscribe. But I am going to show you the finished product, so don't worry about that. It's going to be a couple more minutes long. I'll probably show you putting the hinges back on, and then hanging the doors, and then also probably putting the hardware on. I got to drill holes in them and stuff like that, make a little jig or whatever. All right, see you then. I'm pulling the tape out. It's on the hinge, protecting the code or the number or the reference number to it. This one is a Y, XY, so it's this one over here. And there should be a little line. It's a little bit hard to see, but if you look close, you can see it. And I put the tape on it only because when you're trying to install the door, it's really hard to see that. So I can easily see it with the blue tape. And then I get the hinge. This is a Y, this is a Y here. I pull the tape off. The reason I did this is to make sure the hinges don't change from some drawer to another drawer. Luckily, there's only two of them that are different, and I have a feeling that's that corner one over there. So I got the hinge that matches. Pull the tape off, put it in, and just kind of rock it down. You only put them in one way if you line them up with the old holes. And I put the screws in. I have a clutch on the drill just so I don't accidentally strip them. A clutch lets you adjust it, so at a certain point when you try to screw it, it just makes that noise. It doesn't keep turning. Not that it usually matters because you can't really do it wrong, but I marked the top when I marked the inside the hinge was the top one, so I could always make sure it's on top. But since the holes are on this side, I can't put it upside down, it just won't work. So that's not really an issue. And I found if you just turn the hinge at maybe a 45 to get started, because if you have it all the way out like this, it kind of puts pressure and it's hard to get it to line up. So you just go off a little bit, and it's easier to start to get the screw started. Of course, this left hand, I'm using my foot kind of to help balance it, because these are low enough and I can use my foot. And then I put the screw on the end of the drill bit. Hopefully it won't fall off. Stick it through the hinge. And now I can kind of line it up with the hole. Now ideally you have someone else helping you to hold it, and it's a whole lot easier. And also this is my left hand, which is a little bit harder. Now that I got it set there, I can kind of find the old hole. And I bring it almost all the way in, and then I lift it up or down to whatever the tape wants me to do. In this case, I have to go up just a hair, and then I can run it home. And these screws are really easy to snap off, so make sure you don't put too much pressure on them. On the bottom, I can just go ahead and open it up all the way and put a little pressure on the door, pulling out, and I'll let it catch on the edge of it. And I'm going to go ahead and get the little rubber stoppers to put on these drawers. I'll put one at the top and one at the bottom of these, just to keep it from bouncing and scratching the paint. I found I use a little paint opener. It works pretty good to get an edge on this. And once you get an edge, you can usually reach in there with your finger and pull it off like so. And grab a hinge. Just slide the hinges in. I pop this one all the way open once I got the top ones held in place. And it gives me more room, and now I can pull the door that way to keep it locked in on the back side. And putting that in. And then pull my tape off. Well, this bottom corner cabinet doors, you put the hinge on the outside, which is kind of the inside of the doors. With the roller hinge pin part extended out so that the doors will open like so. This is the outside, and these are the hinges. They take a different type of hinge. The door actually goes on this way. This is the top. I know that because the hinges are on the left side of the opening, and now they have to be on the left side opening like this. Well, I finished up all the cabinets. Kind of get a quick look at them. I decided to put these in the middle instead of the top. Thought it would look better. I made a little plastic jig out of plexiglass, and what I did is I used it, hard to see, but from there down is 3 inches, from there down is 3 inches, and from here over is 1.25 inches. And basically, I put these, I lined it up at the bottom of the door and over, and to drill that hole there for this one. So all the top ones are basically 3 inches up, and all the ones on the lower, I flipped this thing over, and well, now I go like this. Over this way, lined it up like that, and drilled that hole there for that. And then I did make a mistake here. I didn't check which way the door opened, and I drilled here and I drilled there, and I had to patch them, and I touched that up still, a little bit more paint there. And then for the drawers, I just lined it up at the top. I measured and found the center, and I drew a line on this, and that's the center. So I lined that center mark up there and then drilled the outer holes. One right there and one over there for that. So that made it pretty easy. Just went on down and did them all.